Welcome to the Steve Setka Show, your uncensored champion. I'm your host, Steve Setka, and I'm diving deep into the things that matter most to me: sport, freight, and faith. On this show, we're not afraid to go beyond the surface. We get real, share bold opinions, and hit you where it may be uncomfortable. These are the topics I'm passionate about, and I bet they'll spark something in you too. So buckle up for quick, high-impact episodes that'll shake you up. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the show, episode 2. Wow, what an incredible journey so far. So much prep work, so much great energy. And you know what? I've done one episode, I've launched, and I'm still here. Episode 2. I wonder what the statistics are on people getting from episode 1 to episode 2. I feel like they're high. They still should be high. But you never really know. I mean, people quit at all different phases of their journey for sure. I plan on continuing to go for a long time here. I don't know what it's going to turn into, where I'm going with this. I have an idea, but you know, the statistics will tell you that 5 or 10 episodes in, people don't continue. 20 episodes in, that's where 80% of podcasts fail. It's like the Pareto principle, right? Like 80% of the effort is done, 20% of the results are seen, and then, people don't continue. Maybe they're not getting what they're looking for, but I'm not looking for anything really specific here from the show. I'm just excited to be talking to a screen here, which is awkward in itself, and talking to the audience here to talk about my life and to show you what I enjoy about living and why it's beautiful and lovely. As you've noted by now, there's faith. That's a great part of this show. And one of the concepts of the show going forward is going to be a Bible verse that's going to be the central theme of each episode. Today I've chosen a favorite verse of mine, Proverbs 27:17-19. Many of you, I'm sure, know this, whether you know the Bible or not. It states, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. The one who guards a fig tree will eat its fruit, and whoever protects their master will be honored. As water reflects the face, so one's life reflects the heart. That is the context that is going to frame the entire discussion today. And I want to talk a little bit about what this means to me and why it's so important. Iron sharpening iron. I'm a part of a men's team, and I work with men all around me in my life to improve, to grow, to serve my community, my family, and my career, to be the best man that I possibly can. And one episode in the future, we're going to dive into what that means and what that means to me, what we believe objectively it means to the world, the current attack potentially on masculinity and living as a strong man. But we're going to take it in a different direction that is going to be faithful. It'll be spiritual. It'll be relevant. It'll be modern. And we're going to focus on ensuring that people can relate to what that may mean to them or what it may mean in general. Now, iron sharpening iron doesn't necessarily relate to your friends, the men you hang out with, the women you hang out with, your family. It can really relate to anyone. And I want to talk specifically today about the most important person and relationship that I have in my life, which is my wife, Casey. We had a great discussion the other night, which was the inspiration for this podcast, which was, what are we doing going forward? Like, how are we going to live our life? How are we going to build our careers, build our future family, build our home, and continue to move forward and progress? And I got to stop right there, because I said to Casey, I said, love, I'm happy when I'm moving forward. The number one thing that makes me excited or happy about life is progress. And I stopped. And it was a fantastic feeling of energy running through my body and hers about what we do. Oftentimes in the men's teamwork that we do is we talk about the difference between a man and a boy. And it's pretty simple. I believe a boy is someone who does what they want, and a man is someone who does what they need to do. So a man needs to take care of his family, has responsibilities, has people who are relying and depending on him, and doesn't always necessarily get what they want. And I understand that tremendously these days. Bought a house 3 months ago, got married 4 months ago, got a dog a month ago. Things are moving quickly. They're moving fast. And I feel like I don't get a lot of what I want anymore. But you know what I do get? I get what I need. And I get what the Lord has in mind for me. So Casey and I were talking about our careers, sharpening each other, and paying attention to serve to our future family and where we want to go. And she asked me the question, well, what should I be doing with my life? She's on this path of creating a brand around health, wellness, herbalism, and holistic lifestyle. I wouldn't necessarily call it medicine, but it's more just a general lifestyle around mental, physical, spiritual health. And she asked, what should I specialize in? Teaching that topic or focusing on writing and guiding people as a consultant in a healthy, holistic, and herbalist natural lifestyle? And it led to this fantastic conversation as we both have business minds and came to the conclusion that, there's a little bit of both that will come into play when she and we are building her brand and her lifestyle going forward. One of the missions and one of the goals I have in my life as a man is to be able to remove her from the workforce so she isn't relied on to create a significant income. Now, trust me, I'm not against women in the workforce. And I feel like I need to preface that these days. I work with women. I respect women. I believe they have tremendous value in the economy in general. Although she and I have agreed that what we believe is best for our family is for a more or less single income, single created space where I'm the provider for everything that we need. Everything that she brings in terms of income, in terms of career, in terms of business acumen is bonus, which is fantastic. One of the concepts of our relationship that we really focus on is creating unity and oneness in everything we do. So the Lord taught us one bank account, one set of financial principles, one credit card. Everything we have is shared. And we've made that decision from the get-go to ensure that we are on the same page when it comes to everything career, finance, and business going forward. So what did we come to as a conclusion with this discussion? Well, the one thing that we both need to focus on is really what is the one thing, only one thing that we need to pay attention to and become an expert in. I truly believe in expertise, not necessarily generalization. Sure, can you be an herbalist and a natural holistic coach and teach at the same time? Of course, as long as they're complementary to each other. But if you try and expand that entire business into a whole bunch of different things and a whole bunch of different aspects and facets of your business, where is that necessarily going to lead you? Are you splitting your hairs and dividing your focus and attention on a variety of things that get a little bit of your attention, each one of them? Or are you going 100% and all in on one or two specific things and becoming an expert in that area? There's a common adage out there that suggests professionalism and expertise takes about 10,000 hours. And in a full-time work week, 10,000 hours, I believe, don't quote me on the math, is about 7 to 8 years of 40-hour weeks of practicing in that specific discipline. So that leads us to the discussion on my business and a part of this episode and this podcast around freight and transportation. As you may know, members of my family own a freight brokerage firm, a small freight transportation business in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And we've been doing this for 7 years. We just finished that 7th year. And my father, who runs the business with us, always says 5 to survive and 7 to heaven. So I feel like we've made it to a point where we're going to continue and survive and thrive going forward because we've hit that threshold. Unfortunately, that's not necessarily how it works, which is why you continually have to keep prospecting, marketing, paying attention to your finances, making proper decisions, and making a lot of mistakes on the way in order to continue, because you're never good enough in order to stick around and float and coast, especially at my age in your 30s when you have a whole long time left of production in your career. So one of the steps that I've taken recently is, like I talked about last week, embracing the suck and being fearful of what's coming up next is natural. So like I made an uncomfortable decision, but I knew it was necessary. For the first time in my life or my business career, I hired a coach personally, not through the business, not necessarily financed or expensed by the business, but out of my own personal bank account. Shout out to Nick Klingensmith from Stride Motivation, who I've committed to a relationship with him to be my freight business and lifestyle coach going forward, which is very exciting. Being the first time I've spent a large amount of money on something like this that I've invested in myself. He said something very relevant to me. He said, Steve, all these people we've spoken about that you like and enjoy and are excited to talk about and learn from them on Instagram, on socials, on LinkedIn, in person, etc., have a coach. He wasn't very pushy. He didn't necessarily persist tremendously multiple times a week like I had other people do, since I went through a process of deciding who I was going to hire to be a coach. But he gently followed up multiple times over the space of 4 or 5 months from a connection, Chris Jolly from Freight Coach Logistics, that we have together, where we are in connection through a business initiative group in our industry specifically. So me being a freight broker, freight provider, has been a large part of my focus going forward, which was the difference between me hiring someone who does general business growth or hiring someone like Nick, which I ultimately did, to focus on freight, sales, and business growth. Wildly specific and incredibly simple is the motto that Nick uses in order to progress to going to your next step. And that's exactly what we're doing together. So in order to get to a yes with Nick, there's a lot of things I had to say no to and people I had to say no to create the proper yes that I was being led to in order to make the right decision for me. Nick and I are going to be focusing on a variety of things over the beginning of our long-standing relationship that we'll be building, specifically something controversial I want to touch on, which is the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal. I know this is popular out there to talk about in the motivation world or the inspiration world, but I'm going to call a massive amount of bullshit on motivation and inspiration in general. I want to build the muscle called discipline, okay? Inspiration and motivation for me lasts an hour, but discipline is a lifestyle. And that big, hairy, audacious goal that I feel like that everybody talks about is something that most people don't get to because it's so big and so overwhelming. And yes, of course, a lot of people want to start with the end in mind and where they're going. But I just want to create a beautiful, incredible, wonderful life that moves me in the direction to where I want to go so that I can continue to drive towards my best potential. I use this reference that I heard in a show a little while ago about a full marathon. I've run one full marathon in my life, 26 miles, and I continually envisioned that finish line that I was crossing at 26.1 miles. Well, you know what I didn't envision? Was mile 16, when my hips started to hurt so bad that I felt like they were going to break. 17, where it started to rain. 18, where my feet were blistering up so bad that I felt like I couldn't continue going. Mile 20, where you get to a point where you feel so broken that your mind doesn't even want to allow you to continue. Fortunately, when I ran this marathon, my dad came and joined me on his bike when I was at mile 19, which was that push that I needed in order to move forward and in order to continue. This was a virtual marathon. This was kind of wacky. It was definitely 26.1 miles because I mapped it all out and measured them on my watch. But that was the push that got me towards that finish line, which was 26.1 miles. So my suggestion, or my life, is created around focus and train on mile 17, where it's raining, where you're agonizing in pain, where you don't want to do it, where you're tired, where you're fatigued. And then you're going to easily get to 26.1 miles at the end of the race, because that's what it is. Life is a race. It's very competitive out there. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And if we allow ourselves to self-sabotage our minds, we naturally will do that. I am looking forward in my life, and I am done with living in the past. Focusing on the present and the future through purpose and intention is mine and Casey's goal and initiative going forward. Very excited to share this journey with all of you. Thanks for listening to episode number 2. Finishing off this episode, I want to get to the wins that I experience in my life. I pray every day and I show gratitude towards these experiences. Recently, I built a shelf. I installed a lock. I built a door, bought a house, got a dog, got married, have been growing business in 2025, started this podcast. There's so many great things occurring in my life right now. And I want to encourage you to focus on your wins. Where did you win today? I don't care about where you lost. I'm not concerned about how difficult your day was. Focus at the end of the day on gratitude towards where you won. That's what we do every single day in my business, and that's what I do in my life. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you found value in what we shared and that you'll take it with you to positively impact the world around you. If so, we'd love for you to take a moment to rate, review, and share the show, because we're on a mission to grow and reach more hearts. Prayers, gratitude, and love. Until next time.